morning comes from Genesis. It's the very first chapter of the very first book. We're going to read verses 20 through 25. Hear now these words and let them inform your spirit. And God said, "Let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the dome of the sky." So God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves, of every kind, with which the waters swarm, and every winged bird of every kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning, the fifth day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures of every kind, cattle and creeping things, and wild animals of the earth of every kind." And so it was so. God made the wild animals of the earth of every kind, and the cattle of every kind, and everything that creeps upon the ground of every kind. And God saw that it was good. Thanks be to God for this. Let us pray. Holy One, you have so much to teach us. Teach us now. Amen. Last week was World Communion Sunday, a day that we remember that all people everywhere are children of the one God. And today we celebrate the blessing of the animals. We remember that all living things are creatures of the one Creator. So it's right and good to show respect and reverence for the other beings with whom we share this beautiful, fragile world. To be reminded of that great web of life to which we all belong, which we are all a part. By blessing animals in churches, we affirm that our faith is not just about people, not just about communities and systems, but about every living thing, all the creatures of the earth, that all life is important to God, all life is holy, and that all created beings matter. St. Francis of Assisi is credited with reaching out to animals and conducting the first animal blessing. He believed that animals could teach us much about the nature of God, that we could learn about God from watching these humble creatures. He became a strong advocate for animals, saying, "If you have men who will exclude any of God's creatures from the shelter of compassion and pity, then you will have men who will deal likewise with their fellow men." And we know that this is so. People who are kind to animals are kind to people, and vice versa. So it is perhaps fitting that one of St. Francis's quotes came to mind as I prepared to introduce this morning's speaker. Regina Vlasic. Francis said, "Start by doing what is necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you're doing the impossible." I'd like to welcome the founder of Saving Sage Animal Rescue, Regina Vlasic. Regina, would you come forward, please? And welcome. Come on up here. This one has a light. Good morning.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning. You can kick that out of the way.
Okay, I'm a little tall for this. I'm not big on public speaking, so bear with me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Regina Vlasic. I'm a local here of the Shores. I lived here since the 90s. I was previously in South Beach. I have two dads. We moved here, I think, in 1994, and I've been here ever since. I owned the Jolly Mutt Pet Grooming Salon for 17 years, and that's how my animal rescue mission began. In working in the Jolly Mutt, I saw a lot of things that I wasn't okay with. The way that I was raised, we had a lot of animals, and we had a lot of dogs, and I loved animals a lot. And some of the things that I saw were unacceptable to me. In helping clients, like somebody asked for help with a cat, it's a constant cry for help. There aren't enough resources for the animals. Who am I compared to who any of you are? I'm not any different. I'm just one person. One person who constantly saw something wrong and decided to try to help change things and make things better. There was a dog, a client came in and told me about a pit bull fighting ring in Midtown. That dog would later change my life. I've been a person of faith, but in losing my father, I kind of lost that. The dog would later be named Sage, and she completely changed everything for me. I went down there to help one person with one dog, and my children, my daughter's in the back of the room, my children were with me, and my children's friends were with me, and when we finally found this dog, she had been hit by a car, she was lactating, she had scars everywhere, and we called everywhere. We called the Humane Society, we called every animal rescue we could think of, and nobody returned our calls. I'm sure some of you out here today are saying, well, I called you and the same thing happened. And it's true. He found a kitten in his yard. We're unable to help every single animal because there's just too many. There's not enough help, and one person by themselves can't make a difference. But together we can. Together, as we see things, and he picked up the kitten that doesn't even have its eyes open yet, which means it's under a week old, by the way. I'm sure you're bottle feeding it, right? That kitten would not have made it to now had it not been for one person who stood up and helped that animal. So along the process of saving the dog, which would later be named Sage, my life changed and my mission changed, and I veered away from grooming, and within the first year, Saving Sage had volunteers from right here in Miami Shores that saved 174 animals. The next year, we saved 380, I think. This year, we saved 380 animals just during the storm. We recently purchased West Broward Animal Hospital. We're creating a low-cost spay and neuter vaccine clinic. Hopefully one day it will have diagnostics and ultrasound and x-ray and everything that we need. But the number one reason why animals are left and surrendered into our shelter, which, by the way, Miami-Dade Animal Services has the second highest kill shelter in the nation. A lot of people don't know that. So animals are put to sleep. And this isn't to tell you some horrible story. It's just really why I believe that this is my calling and why I've chosen to dedicate my life to the animals, because they don't have a voice and there's not enough people that speak up for them. So we've been able to create a team. We're now partners with Broward County Animal Services. We run the RTF program for them. RTF program means Return to Field, so that eventually people like this gentleman over here that had the kitten found won't have that. We do 700 cats in Miami Shores that we are all volunteer. Nobody gets a paycheck. We go out, we trap the cats, we fix the cats, and then we release them so that they can live their life without reproducing, so that you don't find kittens all over the street. We've developed educational programs. As you saw, all the children love animals. Children love to come in and they love to pick up animals, but how many people are actually do the research and know what a guinea pig takes to own, or a rabbit? They're very cute when they're little and small, but they have feelings like we have feelings. They have needs like we have needs. They need the right habitat, and they need a family that's dedicated to take care of them. They're surrendered constantly, and in the Humane Society and in Miami-Dade Animal Services, they don't accept any small mammals. We do. We do reptiles, we do sugar gliders, we do small mammals, we do dogs and cats, obviously, and we just did our first horse rescue. So in growing and in people coming together, we've been able to do more and more and more, and still we can't help every single animal like the kitten there, but we can always give you advice, and one person can make a difference. And we can, if we have people that are willing to take care of that little kitten that's found, we can guide you into getting that kitten properly placed and into the right home, and together as a community, and just instead of just saying, this is my problem here, because I'm no different than you, I don't get paid to rescue animals, I don't get a paycheck, nobody does. I've worked 14-hour days since before the storm. Today is my second day off, and all of the animals that we say yes to require being taken care of, and that requires volunteers and people that are willing to help, that care and want to make a difference. How can average people make a difference? You could foster an animal, because it gets it out of the shelter, it gets it out of a cage. You can help one animal and advocate for that one animal being one person, and help that animal find a home. Take it into your house, teach it how to be a pet. Right now I have 13 animal cruelty cases. That means animal cruelty cases are animals that I'm holding for the police department. Every single one of those animals has the ability to be rehabilitated, has the ability to be part of a family. I've seen it hundreds of times, but they need one person who dedicates themselves to helping them and that believes in them. I can't do it all on my own, and I love Miami Shores. I've grown up here. I think it's a beautiful community. And I hope that, if you need help with an animal, you will consider opening your home and doing the work and allowing us to help you while you do the work. And sometimes it's not possible. A bottle-feeding kitten needs to be fed every 3 hours. But when we take them in, that means that we have to do that on top of everything else that we do. So somebody just saying, I'm retired and I have time and I'd like to help out, there's a million things you can do. Every little tiny bit helps hugely on the big scale of how we're able to change the world for animals. So I thank you guys very much for inviting me. And if you guys have questions, I'll be at I think it's called the reception after. And I'm more than willing to give you guys any advice or about the kitten and help you find some resources that make life a little easier. So.
Regina, thank you for what you do. We want to be part of that, and so we want to make it possible for you to be part of Saving Sage Animal Foundation and the work they do. Any contribution you make today, if you mark on that envelope or on the check, we'll make sure it gets to them. And in that way, you can be there for them in ways that you couldn't be physically present. Again, I want to thank Regina for sharing this morning, to coming out here on her day off and speaking to us. We did want want you to meet her and to hear about the work that she's doing right here in town. Every little bit does help. Amen? Let's sing together hymn number 28, For the Beauty of the Earth.